Hi there. So in the last video, I went through how to program this slide so that it would show up correct on the teacher dashboard. When the student presses the button, it gives them a correct message if they're correct. And if they have something wrong in the table, then the teacher dashboard shows incorrect, and that the feedback to the student tells them that they need to go back and fix something. It doesn't tell them what something they need to fix, so sometimes that's what the teacher wants. Sometimes the teacher wants to give a little bit more cell-by-cell individualized feedback. So this next method of programming this is going to show you a way to give that individualized feedback. Because we duplicated it from before, all of the check data is still in here, but because we're going to give cell-by-cell feedback, we kind of have to break that check data up a little bit and maybe define it a little bit differently. Or we could leave it as a lump, but then we kind of have more work later on. So I think it's faster to break it up here in this stage. So we're going to get rid of the ands at the end of each of these, and we're going to call each of these its own separate check. So check B, and the next one, check C, check D, and check E. So now that we have them all set up on their own, then the correct check needs to be adjusted as well. Like, we don't want to just say correct check A is correct, because that would only be the first cell needs to be correct. So we want to have all of these check B and check C and check D and check E. All right, so if all of those are correct, then we'll mark it correct on the teacher dashboard. So that sort of takes us back to where we were when we first looked at the programming on the screen. It's already done for us. We just sort of broke it up into pieces to make it then correct. But those pieces are going to help us give cell-by-cell feedback. So this next part that I'm going to do is to provide feedback to the students. So let me write that on here. All right, so we're going to use the cell suffix, which means something at the end of the cell is going to appear. For cell 1, 2, we're going to have a few different things happen. We want, when it's correct, we want it to show like a check mark or the word yes. So when this component, which is the table itself, the script of check A, when it's correct, then let's just write the word yes for simplicity here, but you could use like a check mark, which I often use, or whatever you want. When this cell has focus for cell 1, 2, then that means that the student is typing and that we probably don't want a message to appear until they have clicked off of the box. But when, sorry, I should say otherwise, we want it to say like no or fix your work or however we want to word it. So we want the same thing to happen for each of these. So I'm going to go through and do this for all cells. So let's see. This is 1, 2. We want 2, 2 to have the same thing, except that that's check B. And then 3 is going to be check C. And then 4 is check D, and finally 5 is check E. All right, so that should work for every single cell. So let's say done, and I'll go to the preview now. Let's try it. So we've got 4, and then we've got 7, 10, 13, and 16. And as I'm typing those in, then it gives us the feedback. So if I get something back here wrong, and I click off of it, it'll tell me that it's incorrect so that I know where my mistake is and that that's the one that I need to fix. Sometimes that's good if students really need that immediate feedback. Sometimes you want them to be able to sort of do some debugging and thinking for themselves. So it's a tough call, and really your call as to am I giving the student too much feedback and they really need to be thinking about this themselves, and I'm trying to get them to check their work themselves, or are we at the stage where students are just going to give up if they don't have that little bit of help? So hopefully that helps you along, and I'll make a separate video for the last one. That's it.